We are fortunate to be joined by Elena Poleo,
Política Elena Poleo.
an activist and longtime journalist. Elena, thank you very much for coming in.
Hello, and welcome to the Career Moms Connect podcast. I am Elena Poleo, a communication specialist with over 20 years of experience, and I am so glad you're joining us for this podcast, where I will interview amazing women who love their jobs and their families. We'll talk about the challenges that women face in the workplace and at home and how they have overcome them. Hopefully, we can all learn a little bit from each of these fabulous ladies and feel a little bit less alone in this journey of working motherhood. Thank you for listening. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us in Career Moms Connect podcast. I am very excited to introduce our next guest. Here with us today, she will tell us everything about why we call her Grizz. But here with us today is Grizz. She is a lieutenant colonel, and she will talk to us today about being a woman in the military, about being a mom in the military, and about all of the challenges that she has been through and how she has overcome them. Grizz, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Hi, Helena. So good to be here. And, I'm kind of laughing about your Career Moms Connect name because we've rescheduled this at least 5 times. So
that just goes to show how much coordination and organization it takes for 2 moms who work full-time, maybe even more than full-time, to connect. So here we are finally connecting.
Yes,
thank you
I'm so
much
proud
for
of us.
making time. And we were just talking about some of the challenges that we face as moms, right? Like a few minutes ago, what happened this morning?
Yes, no kidding. 30 minutes ago, I'm over here, trying to do like a comm check on my side. So I show up ready for you. I'm looking at my notes. I want to make sure that, everything's good to go for you. And my son, my 7th grader, calls and he's like, I'm sick. I don't feel good. Please come get me. So that was 30 minutes ago. So I'm like, okay, I have time.
All the time in the world. 30 minutes, plenty of time.
We can do this. And
yes.
School's a mile away. Super easy. Get him,
right.
Get him fed a little bit, tucked in, and now he's okay.
Oh, okay. So tell us a little bit. So first of all, tell us your real name, which is not Grizz.
No.
Your parents did not name you Grizz.
They did not name me Grizz. My first name is Shannon. Shannon Cary. Yeah, they named me after a river in Ireland, which I'm a little bit Irish, but we had never gone, and they're just like, it's beautiful. Let's do that. So, Shannon.
Tell us about the journey of becoming a pilot. Where did that start?
So it started when I was really young. I grew up in Juneau, Alaska, a pretty small town. And when I was 8, we had an air show come to our town, which is a huge deal. Again, it's pretty small, it's pretty remote. So when big things come to the town, the whole town shows up. And the grand finale of that show were the Canadian snowbirds. So we go to the show, and again, I'm little and I've got 2 younger brothers. So we're running around in the dirt and we're throwing rocks at each other and not really paying attention. And then I hear over this loudspeaker that was, projecting the sound into the crowd that the Canadian snowbirds had taken the runway. And it was almost like somebody hit pause and everything quieted like around me. It was like this little bubble. And the next thing I hear is the sound. And the next thing I see are 9 aircraft take off so low and so fast right over my head. And my little body is shaking with, the engine sound and the noise. And it's how the runway is situated. It's between 2 mountains. So you've got the sound that's echoing off both sides of the mountains. And they were so fun. And like I said, so fast, so loud, so cool. And I remember looking up at my mom and my dad, and I go, how do I do that? I want to do that. And the best part about that is, my parents could have, easily said, you're 8. Why don't we go get ice cream? Like whatever. Uh-huh. and blown it off. But they didn't. And they just said, okay, well, how do we do that? So we, I grew up, we didn't have an airplane, but there were a lot of friends and friends' parents that had airplanes. So my mom and dad, I come to find out a whole lot later that they spend a lot of money on airplane gas for me.
Oh, well.
But they don't tell me that until much later. But they would ask their friends if they'd take me flying. So I would go flying in float planes or, little Cessnas, anything I could get my hands on. And I remember distinctly, we were driving by the airport and a steerman was sitting outside, one of those open cockpit biplanes. I'm like, Dad, how do I get into that? And we stop, he goes in, he's like, my daughter would like to fly with whoever that is. And he goes, well, I'm taking off right now, let's go. And we went up over the glacier, doing loops over this glacier. And I'm like, okay, how do I get from I want to do this to I'm doing this?
Right.
And that was its own process all itself. But that's where the spark started. Yeah. And then from there, it was, well, how do I fly for a living? Like, do people fly for a living? Because again, there's a lot you don't know when you're 15, 16, 17.
Of course.
And I decided on applying to the Air Force Academy. I got the nomination, had the grades for it, and was lucky enough to get in. And I don't really say lucky, because I don't believe people are lucky. I mean, I believe people are prepared. But there's a little bit of good fortune involved as well.
A little bit, but you're right. Like you can make your own luck, right? It's about making your own luck and being prepared and going after what you want.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. For sure. And, you kind of have a goal out there, be cool about it if your goal changes a little bit or if the circumstances change, but at least having something to aim for gives you the motivation to keep going, kind of gives you the reason why behind it. I showed up to the academy on day one and my family's not military. So,
so you're the first one, right?
Well, not the first, but there's literally like 3 or 4 of us and that's it. And it's all spread out. And I show up day one and I get this like horrendous haircut. People are laughing. And, I'm like, I'm mortified. It's like they stuck a bowl on my head and cut around it. And I've got this crazy curly hair. So nothing good comes from that. And, and then I've got upperclassmen yelling and I'm like, what am I doing here?
So how many other women were in that class?
We graduated with about 15%.
15% women. Okay. Okay. That's not zero. That's good. That's good.
It's not zero. It's definitely, I'm very fortunate that, there were women before me that trailblazed. So wasn't the first kind of on that initial bow wave, but they did the really hard work.
Do you know what it's like now?
I do. It's up to upwards of about 30%, give or take.
Okay. Okay. So we're climbing.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
So we talked about this before because we've been friends for a couple of years. We met at the Homestead Air Force Base Air Show, which I cannot wait for again. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's coming up.
And you put that show together, right? You were at Southern Command here in Miami.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about what you do now.
So, that air show was put together by a team of us, just to be clear.
Of course. Not just you, but you were part of the team.
I'll take 95% of the credit.
There you go. As you should.
Yes. So I am in the Air Force. I'm a reservist in the Air Force. And what that looks like for me is part-time Air Force. I work a couple days a month. Right now I'm working up in Southern Command. And I work up in a joint operations center, which is really the belly button for everything Central and South America and all of our Department of Defense folks that work with and through us, and for the 4-star general that really runs the whole thing. So I'm kind of that belly button, like I said, between all of the folks doing all the good.
Am I incorrect in saying that? Isn't the Southern Command Commander General, isn't it a woman? Isn't she a woman?
She is,
She's
yes.
a woman. I got to have her on my podcast, Riz. You got to help me out.
You do. She's fantastic. Yes, she would be
Yes.
great.
Yes, she's fabulous. So we are definitely climbing, and Southern Command is a very important post, as you all know. South America, that entire region. I'm Venezuelan, so we all know everything that's going on down there. Very keeps you guys very, very busy. So it's a very important post. And Grizz, tell us a little bit about your experience in the academy and what you went through, focusing as a woman. Some of the challenges you may have faced, because there are a lot of women that are probably listening to us now that maybe want to attain something big, that have their eyes set on a high goal and are constantly facing challenges. And we like to hear about some of these women and how they have overcome these challenges.
It's a little tricky as a woman when you're like the only one in a class. Or, and it's not that you feel isolated so much. It's that you look around, you're like, man, I have something I would really like to talk to another female about, and not the guys. And, I have plenty of male friends, and it was never uncomfortable. But it was more, I wish I had more female companionship at the critical growth moments, when I'm young and impressionable and I'm hearing these voices saying, you'll never be able to do that. You can't do that. I had a chemistry teacher at the academy. I was failing big time, his class. And I went in for extra instruction, and, because I have to ask for help, and that's hard,
That's right. You got to ask for help.
And that's, okay, let's be vulnerable, and I need your help. So I went in there and asked him for help, and, I'm 18, and he finally goes, why are you even here? And I go, well, in my small little 18, not so confident voice, I was like, well, to be a pilot. And he's like, yeah, no, you'll never make it. You don't have what it takes. And initially I was like, whoa, what? You can't.
This is a man, yes?
This is a man.
Right.
Yeah. And I look back now and I'm like, I think about what rank he was and who he was and all this stuff. And he's whatever, but what that did for me was kind of light that spark again. And maybe it was a different one. Maybe it was all right, I need to get my act together. Like, why
Which
am I
is a good
failing?
spark. Which is a good spark.
Yes. So thank you to that guy for that.
So let's go ahead and thank all of our critics and all of those people that said you're never going to make it, you're just not good enough. Let's thank them for motivating us to be better.
It is. And then, what I learned much later, which, it would have been great to know way back then, is, listen to the guy, or listen to I won't say guys, but listen to the individuals that have a vote. If it's just somebody like kind of off over here that just feels like they need to say something, but they don't really impact your decisions or the decisions around you or the ladder you're trying to climb, then it's not worth listening. It's not
worth your time.
It's
not worth your energy.
The application. And exactly. Don't give them that energy.
Yeah. Exactly. So you had told me about, for example, just to be very specific about like the flight suits and how they were made for men, and you had different needs. And so you had a group of women and you all kind of came up with solutions. So talk to me a little bit about those types of challenges and how having these women with you as part of your crew helps to have all these other ambitious, powerful, fabulous women around you.
Yes, because they are.
Yeah.
It wasn't until very recently, and I want to say, I think it was 2016, 2017, that they redid all of the standards and measurements for life support gear specifically. And before that, all of the gear was designed off of male measurements. So, I mean, they took a bunch of them, but they were all from the men side of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And we would, you wear a flight suit. Sometimes, you're going to be in this plane, and it's, I flew F-16, so it's a single seat cockpit. So if you're going to be in the plane for 6, 7, 8, 9 hours, then, there's stuff that's going to happen. You're going to have to use the restroom at some point, and having the gear work in situations where you're very cramped, trying to figure it all out. The zipper doesn't go far. It didn't go down far enough. The equipment didn't work that great. One of the ones that, you look back now and you're like, holy cow, I'm shocked, and amazed that we all kind of made it through this.
Yeah.
The parachute, the harness, it fit some of us, but it didn't fit everybody, because you've got some pretty petite women out there that still meet the standards to go fly the jet, but the gear doesn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you said it was not till 2017 that they started.
Go back and reference that, but it was like 2016, 2017. So really like yesterday.
Yeah, basically. That's
like
less than a decade ago.
We've been in single seat aircraft. We've been allowed to fly combat since 93. So it's a long time coming. And it truly is through the hard work of a lot of the women that have come up through the ranks and have been able to, now that we have enough that have gone through it, they can take the data, and the data means something. It's not just one off over here. That's just 2 women that need something over here. But now it's a much, much larger, data set that they can pull from. And we can go back and look at it and go, okay, how do we redesign so that this works for, the men and women that we are, putting in these positions to go do, the work.
All right.
And, like you and I have talked about before, back in, I believe it was about 2004. If I get that wrong, they'll yell at me. There were 4 of my really good friends. They were over at Luke Air Force Base in Arizona, and they were having a glass of wine, sitting around together. And they're like, we need to find a way to connect to all the women out there, because we were so isolated. I was in Korea with just me. And, the rest of the squadron were all men. The folks that are, in Europe or Japan or throughout Asia or across the United States, we're usually 1 or 2 per squadron. So how do we connect those 1 and 2s throughout, how do we bring us all together? And, over a couple of glasses of wine, they're like, well, let's create the Chick Fighter Pilot Association.
Love it.
I love it too.
The Chick Fighter Pilot Association.
And it is still going strong. And I love it. They're, it's a lot of mom stuff. Because
even though you're flying these multi-million-dollar aircrafts through missions, you still have the mom stuff.
Yes, like you just had a baby, you're cleared. I didn't do this, but a lot of these amazing women did. They would have a baby, and they would get, eventually cleared back to fly, and they'd be pumping in the plane.
Oh my gosh. While they were flying the plane?
No, not while they're flying.
Okay, I'm like, wait a minute, this is too much.
Yeah, no.
So how would that work?
What's that?
They were on the ground. Okay.
Yeah, on the ground. They would pump, they would store it, and then they'd go fly, and then they'd come back. And
that takes a lot. I mean, and I was complaining because I was pumping in my home office. And here these women are, in airplanes wearing gear and having to pump because they're moms, and
they're moms, and they're talking to each other, and they're asking, this worked for me, this really did not work for me, here's the brand you need, here's all the stuff. And it's fantastic. It's really fun to watch.
And it's so important, this idea that all these strong, great women can help each other grow, right? Because there is this mentality sometimes that we see another woman and we feel envy. We're so jealous of the fact that she got higher, or maybe it looks that she's doing so much better than me, which is, I would blame social media for this, but that's a different conversation. All these women look like they have it all together, and there's a bit of envy that some women may feel, and we have to stop ourselves from doing that, because I feel like that's a little bit of what society is forcing us to do, is pit us against each other. We can help each other. We can help each other rise, and then we all rise, because the more women that are in positions of power, the more normal it becomes. and it
I
gives us
agree.
better a chance. So what you formed, this what was it? Chick
Chick
fighter
Fighter
pilot?
Pilot
Yes,
Association.
yes. This is exactly the kind of thing. And this is what this podcast seeks to do, is connect all these career moms love their career, but who are also moms. And you are a mom of, is it 2 or 3 boys?
So we are a blended family,
Right.
and we have 4. Yes, we
Amazing.
have
I have 2, and I don't know how you do it.
we have 2 girls and 2 boys.
Okay.
So we've got
So
a
you
good
are also
mix.
married. Your husband's also in the military.
He retired last summer, and now he's
Okay.
a full-time commercial pilot.
Okay. So he's a commercial pilot. So he is still working and flying all over the place, I'm
Yes,
assuming.
and like right now he's gone.
Right. Yeah. So now you're a single mom right now while he's gone. And so tell me a little bit about these. Both of you obviously have demanding careers. Both of you are obviously committed to your careers. How was this? How did you both of you manage this family, keeping your family together, your careers? Tell me a little bit about that balance, which I always use air quotes on balance, because I always feel like it's never really balanced. But
It's
let's
not.
say we try to reach that balance.
Yeah, I don't use the word balance either,
Yep.
because, like you just said, it never is. It's being very intentional with your time, and then being very committed to protecting that time until you move on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not very easy. I think one of our better decisions is to have a shared family calendar. So we always know what each other's doing, especially, his stuff, my stuff, and then you add in the kids' 18,000 practices and
Right.
and sports and
all the sports, all
whatever.
the
Yeah, but to your question, we always put the family first. And we were at points in our career, and we married a little bit later to each other, that we could do this. It would have been different younger without kids, being that graceful to each other. But where we were at the time, we were always, every next step, the first question was, what does this do to our family before I say yes? Can I say yes? How badly do I want to say yes? And it kind of scales what sort of sacrifice you need to make on one side or the other, whether it be work or family. And, sacrifice is kind of a negative word, so I probably shouldn't use that. But it's we asked ourselves the question, is this next move, can we do it? Can we do it as a couple and support each other? And are the kids going to be okay? So a good example was, I was up in the Panhandle, and I was just finishing up a squadron commander tour, which I loved, with a group of people in a wing that I just, have so much respect for. But I was nearing the end of that, and it made sense that I needed to do something else, just wasn't sure what yet. And my husband, he had the opportunity, and then took it, to go up to the Pentagon to work. And that was going to be a full-time position for him. So he was going to be commuting back and forth. So I said, okay, well, we both can't commute, because we live, in South Florida. So we both can't commute to our job. One of us has to come back. And I made the decision to kind of get out of my career field a little bit, and go to Southern Command. And, was lucky enough that there was a position with what I needed available for me at the time. So I brought me back here so I could be with the kids more consistently, which would allow him to leapfrog up to the Pentagon as much as he needed to. Because, like I said, my military stuff is part-time. And I have a full-time job down at Homestead at the base. So it made sense to do that. But I did get some feedback when I made that choice, and was told, if you go here, this will probably be the end of your career.
Oh, wow.
And because a lot of people retire out of the job that I'm currently in.
Yeah.
But that wasn't my intent. My intent was just, at the moment, trying to make the best choice you can with what you have, right, at that time.
Right.
My intent was to come back and make sure that the family was good. And then, kind of on the parallel sideline over here, keep doing what I'm doing and keep contributing as much as I could with what was going on. And now I look at it and I go, well, I have a follow on. I'm actually getting back, hopefully very soon, back into my career field and, back with the folks that, I, again, have a tremendous amount of respect working for, and not necessarily getting back on the path because, I don't know what the path is at this point. I feel like every junction, the path changes and we're like, all right, this is the next thing. So I took that, 3 years ago, and they said, if you take this job, that's going to be it. And I'm like, I don't think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the things that I really sit back and try to understand is, and listen to is, what's right for us, what's right for the kids, what's right for me, and to kind of quiet down a minute and listen to my own voice and make decisions based off of that and not what, society says over here, or the culture over here says I should do this, or this mom or this other female lieutenant colonel is on this path and she's killing it over here.
Right.
But that's theirs.
That's so important. Like there's so many, the path doesn't always have to be linear.
Oh, right? No, mine's very squiggly.
Exactly. And paths can be squiggly. They can zigzag. Sometimes they double back and they go forward. It's not always the way that we think. It just has to keep going straight up, straight up, straight up, straight up. It's not always that way. No. And it's just whatever is good for you and whatever is good for your family, because we are moms and we have to take our families into consideration. So definitely,
and
we can't pretend we're not moms. We can't just live our lives as if we weren't, because we are.
we are. Yeah. And I think, looking at a woman's career, a lot of times it very, very much ebbs and flows, and that's fine.
Yeah. And that's fine.
That's okay.
How important is it for a woman to have a supportive partner?
Well, now it's, yes, very important. But it's not the end all be all. You need to be very confident in yourself. Mm-hmm. Understand. I mean, like I'm in a situation where my husband is fantastic. He's amazing. And he is 1,000% supportive all the time. And if I didn't have that, if there was the negativity or the lack of support, then that would for sure affect what was going on. Mm-hmm. But from just a female standpoint and a professional standpoint, really understanding yourself as a professional and just acknowledging the fact that, yes, you are knowledgeable, you are competent, you have the integrity you need to have to pull it off, whatever it is you're doing, you can go do it, and to have that mindset that maybe today is not the day I'm going to go do this, but I can go do this. And to just think it, flip it. Because if you go, you do the reverse and go, I don't know if I can do this. Well, sure. Then you can't do it because you just told yourself. Yeah. But if you go, yeah, I can do it my own way. I can do it my own way because I am a professional and I am pretty smart and pretty competent. And, so yes, to the support structure around you. I mean, so beneficial. And, but really understanding that, yes, you yourself, you've got it within you to make it happen.
So speaking about careers that, squiggly lines and not straight lines, your career has been moving forward. I mean, we are very grateful to have you here in South Florida and that you're here doing the work that you do. And you just got some great news of a promotion. Can you share that with us a little bit? This is a little bit of a on the DL kind of thing, and I would really appreciate it if you would share with us.
I did. So to back this up, I actually got out of active duty as a captain, and I quit. I just took 5 years off
Okay.
and had a baby and did all the things. And when I jumped back in,
Mhm.
I was 5 years behind my peer group. And
This
just
is
kind of,
this is such an important little lesson for so many women that took time off to have babies, to create their family, to enjoy their babies in their most delicious stage. And then they jump back in. Now you're 5 years behind, but you're there.
but I'm
You're
there.
there. Yeah.
And, I've got an amazing kid. And, it was a little bit, wow, I'm 5 years behind you. You're off doing like all these great big things, and I'm, not.
Yeah.
But again, it's kind of, stop comparing yourself to other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. It's
Let's,
always that comparison that we do to each other, which is
yeah.
just so detrimental.
So I've been slowly working back and up since then. And, you again flip the narrative, 5 years behind your peer group, but I've 5 years more time than my now current peer group.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got, 5 years more of experience in life and all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And I always knew I jumped back in because I knew I liked doing what I did. I liked the mission, the camaraderie, everything about it. The bigger than yourself, just contributing in that way was always something that I really liked and wanted to be a part of. And again, when I kind of made the jink over to Southern Command and had the opportunity to, be in a job that I, one, didn't expect to have, and two, didn't expect to learn as much as I did, and have such a, honestly phenomenal experience in a joint environment, which is really cool, working for a 4-star female, all of that jazz.
That's awesome. Yes.
I didn't know really what would happen from there. And I found out last spring that, I applied for it, and I made full colonel. So I made 06. And that should be happening within the next couple months. I should be able to pin on in the next couple months and
That's exciting. Can't
go
wait to
and do.
celebrate.
Yes.
So you're going to be Colonel Grizz.
There you go. So by the air show, you should see me.
By the air show. I can't wait. That's
There you go.
awesome. So you have a beautiful quote that you've shared with me before. And I would like for you to share that with our audience today because it really resonated with me.
I would love to. It's my favorite. So this is Amelia Earhart. And she says, some of us have great runways already built for us. If you have one, take off. But if you don't have one, realize it is your responsibility to grab a shovel and build one for yourself and for those that will follow after you.
That's right. So we have to go out there and build our own runways.
Yes.
Yes. If they're not already there, we got to build them, right? And we got to build them for ourselves. We got to build them for our daughters and for everyone that comes after us.
Absolutely.
Well, Grizz, thank you so much for sharing time between all the crazy schedules. I'm so glad we made this happen. And, I'll be calling on you again to do some other crazy thing that I'll come up with.
Yes, I love this. I love being able to spend time with you and talk about all the really cool things. So thank you.
I'm gonna see you soon because I'm gonna call you for something else. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone who joined us. And if you have any questions, go ahead and write them in the comments and we'll try to get them answered. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.